Whoa, what is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. Gonna have a couple of videos actually up for you guys today. The other video should be out maybe around 6, 7 o'clock. Just felt like it was kind of weird combining the two topics today, being that I'm kind of reviewing a mock draft by Mel Kiper. I try to do these every now and again. When I feel like it's an interesting mock from one of the so-called experts. Now, take it for what you will. Guys like Todd McShay and Mel Kiper are going to do 20 different mock drafts. You should not read anything into this in terms of whether or not the probability of the New York Giants getting one of these two players goes up because Mel Kiper thinks so. But to me, when I read this mock draft today, and I think we all do as Giants fans or football fans in general, we get excited as the draft is leading up to all the possibilities that our team may be presented with on draft night. And of course, we want to get to learn some of these prospects that the Giants or whoever you may be a fan of, if you're watching this video, may end up with in this year's draft. Well, today, Mel Kiper's latest mock draft to me is a Giants dream scenario. I can't really picture a scenario in which New York Giants fans would be more happy than this one. Now, there's certainly some Giants fans that want a quarterback, and we'll talk about Malik Willis in my other video today, along with Charles Cross and Kenny Pickett, some of the prospects that the New York Giants have been analyzing at their pro days the last couple of days, and talk about how it may influence the Giants draft pick at 5 or 7. But even if you're a fan of taking the quarterback, regardless, I don't know how you could be upset with this scenario if it does play out this way. Now, in the end, do I think this will happen? No, but crazy things happen in the draft, right? We all know that. You think back to Clay and Farrell, what was it, in 2018 or 19, going 4th overall. Nobody saw that coming with the Raiders. You think about Leonard Williams in his draft. He was the consensus number 1 or 2 prospect in that draft. I think the Jets got him at 6. So players drop in the draft for a variety of reasons. Do I think they'll both be available? No, but you never know on draft night, right? Players have been shifting with some of these more recent mock drafts. I still think in the end, Kayvon Thibodeaux will probably go top 2 or 3, but it seems like a lot of experts seem to think it's possible he could fall to the New York Giants. And in this scenario, not only did we get Kayvon Thibodeaux, we got Evan Neal, who many feel may be the best tackle in this year's draft class. If you go back 2-3 months ago, a lot of mocks probably had these guys as the top 2 picks in the draft. In this scenario, well, Kiper has him going 5th and 7th to the New York Giants, and we'll go over his mock draft and some of the scenarios, and I think it's fairly realistic outside of the Jets pick. I don't see the New York Jets doing what they did. I'll talk further about it in this video, but I also want to go over his reasoning and his line of thought with why these teams took these prospects, and I'll talk about how I feel about the overall mock, just through the first 7 picks, because as Giants fans, that's all we really care about. But let's go over the mock draft. First pick overall, Jacksonville Jaguars, he's got Aiden Hutchinson. And this seems to be the consensus at this point in time. Some people still have them taking a tackle, and they certainly could, but of course they franchise tag their left tackle. I think Juwan Taylor's on the right side as well. They could take a guy like Aquanu, though, who could potentially start at the guard and obviously have a plan to move him to the tackle eventually. Or if they love one of these tackle prospects, you get him anyway. But I think a lot of people at this point in time do have them going with the edge. That's not set in stone. If they do go with the edge, almost anybody would tell you Aiden Hutchinson is probably going to be the first player off the board. And that's what he has. Jacksonville Jaguars taking Aiden Hutchinson. He says, when I did my previous mock draft before the combine, I started off my write-up with this pick with this. Offensive tackle or edge rusher here. I don't think the Jaguars are set either way. Well, things change quickly in the NFL. Jacksonville decided to franchise tag Cam Robinson for the 2nd straight year, taking away its need for a top-tier blindside protector, at least for a year, for quarterback Trevor Lawrence. Now Hutchinson is the heavy favorite to go to the Jaguars. Basically what I just said. So that's his reasoning. I'm kind of in agreement there. If I was doing a mock draft similar to the one I did a couple of weeks ago, I'd probably have Hutchinson going to the Jaguars. This is where it gets a little dicey for me. This is not his craziest pick, however. I could see this happening. I personally have Kayvon Thibodeaux going to the Detroit Lions, but this is his line of thought. Number 2 to the Detroit Lions, Kyle Hamilton, the safety out of Notre Dame. Now, of course, a lot of people have said they feel Kyle Hamilton may be the best overall prospect in this draft, but it is very rare that you see a safety go as early as 2nd overall. This is what he had to say. Pass rusher Kayvon Thibodeaux will be in play here, but the top offensive tackles aren't an option. The Lions are set with Decker and Penei Sewell. There's more risk with Thibodeaux than I'd like for a number 2 pick because there's no guarantee he'll grow into his immense upside. I'd prefer a safer pick here. And I've come around to the fit of Hamilton in Detroit, which my guy Todd McShay has pushed for a little bit. Hamilton is a playmaking safety in a 6'4" frame who would immediately raise the ceiling of a defense that has struggled for years. He could play in the box, out of the slot, and as a center fielder. Normally, I'd say this is too high for a safety, but Hamilton is a unique and special defender. Detroit brought back safety Tracy Walker, but he would play with Hamilton. I personally have Thibodeaux going there, but do I think this is crazy? No. Is it possible they could take a guy like Hamilton? Sure, it is. Then Aquanu going to Houston. I don't really got to read too much about this. I can tell you guys, I think they need to go tackle, and I think they will go tackle. And in this scenario, they had them taking Aquanu. I think it's probably neck and neck. I think they could go either way. I just think tackle makes way too much sense for a team like the Houston Texans because you're talking about a team that is completely starting over. They have so many needs on that football team. Why not go for the long-term solution there right on the tackle? Some may argue maybe they could go quarterback, but they don't have a lot of pieces on that team to really get the most out of the quarterback. I think they go long-term. I think they go with the first tackle on their board. In this scenario, Kiper has them taking Aquanu, which is very realistic. This is where it goes off the rails for me. But for something like this to take place for the Giants, it would have to go off the rails. And is it possible a team potentially could trade up to 4 to, say, take a quarterback, which would allow this to be a possible scenario? Sure. He has the New York Jets taking Drake London, wide receiver out of USC. Here's what I'm going to say. I don't think it's crazy to think that the Jets could take a wide receiver because I think they're going to, but I don't think it's going to be at 4. I think it's going to be with their second first round selection at 10th overall. Because when you look at the board, there's not really a lot of teams that I see taking a wide receiver before they pick at 10th overall. In this spot, if I'm the Jets, I'm either trading down or I'm taking Kayvon Thibodeaux or potentially Evan Neal. I think those are the only 3 choices. This, to me, is the first biggest reach and something I don't really see playing out, but this is his reasoning. Drake London, wide receiver, USC to the New York Jets. The Jets had a nice start to free agency, filling voids at tight end, safety, cornerback, and guard. They haven't yet added an outside receiver to help Zach Wilson, though, which means they could be eyeing one with either of their top 10 picks. They could get their choice of the best receiver in the class here, and really, if they want to take one, there's no need to wait. London, 6'4", my top-ranked wideout, had 88 catches for 1,084 yards in 8 games in 2021 before a broken right ankle ended his season. He could be a weapon in the red zone with London and Corey Davis on the outside and Elijah Moore and Berrios working out of the slot. New York would have a young and talented receiving core for Wilson's second season. Well, I do agree, and it's why I had the Jets taking a wide receiver in my first mock at 10th overall, that the Jets certainly need a number 1 option on the outside, and you figure that they're going to try to help out their young quarterback as best as they can, and they've actually had a very active free agency period. I don't see them taking a wide receiver at 4th overall. That's not to say that this scenario is impossible to play out. Like I said, it's possible if a team, say, loves Malik Willis, they could jump up to 4. The Jets, of course, also have the 10th pick. I could see them trading down to, say, 8 or 9 if they were blown away by a package and a team could come up and get a quarterback. But that is really the only way I could see this scenario playing out where one of the top 2 offensive tackles and Kayvon Thibodeaux get to the New York Giants. But let's go on with the mock. At 5 overall, he's got the New York Giants taking Evan Neal. And to me, I don't even think you hesitate if Evan Neal is still on the board there for the Giants. It's our biggest need, and he's arguably the best available player on the board. That's what he's got here. The Giants, the other team with 2 top 10 picks, haven't been as active in free agency as with new general manager Joe Shane, gets the team back into decent salary cap shape. That doesn't mean they don't have needs, though, particularly at edge rusher and offensive tackle. With the way the board is falling in this projection, they could get a day 1 starter at both spots. Neal is a massive tackle who can overpower defenders in the run game and move his feet as a pass protector. Andrew Thomas, the number 4 pick in 2020, looked much better in year 2 and could stay on the left side, pushing Neal to the right. Neal also played some guard at Alabama, and he could be great there too. This is a big season for Daniel Jones, so the Giants have to keep him upright. And for all the reasons that he said, but most importantly, I think you're matching BPA with our biggest need in this spot. I do think right tackle is our biggest need. You're getting arguably the best offensive lineman in the NFL draft. So I think that's a slam dunk pick. Then he's got the Carolina Panthers taking Trayvon Walker. I was a bit surprised here. I could see Carolina taking an offensive tackle, or I could see them taking a quarterback. Most people do not have them going with a defensive end, but says the Panthers have struck out in the quarterback trade market so far, although Baker Mayfield and Garoppolo are still available. But they are clearly trying to upgrade over Darnold. Could they take Malik Willis or Pickett here? It's possible. Coach Matt Rule is on the hot seat, and this could be his attempt at a big splash for 22. Still, if he wants to win now, he's probably better off trading for a veteran and staying away from a rookie signal caller. So his reasoning here for them not going quarterback is he still thinks that they may look to trade and bring in an established veteran, which is entirely possible. I think Baker Mayfield is definitely a possibility for the Panthers. As a matter of fact, if I had to peg a team that's going to land Mayfield, it will probably be the Panthers. I don't know how they would get the salary cap to work, being that they're paying Darnold $18 million already. You'd then be paying Mayfield $18 million. But I definitely think it's possible that they do bring in a veteran quarterback. However, I still think they would lean tackle here in this scenario. Everything I have read, the Carolina Panthers offensive line may be even worse than ours. And everything I've read is Charles Cross has impressed them and teams around the league. I think Charles Cross will be the pick if they don't go quarterback at 6th overall. Regardless, it doesn't really impact what we do in this mock at 7th overall. They then have the New York Giants getting Kayvon Thibodeaux, a player that was the consensus number 1 pick about 3 or 4 months ago by most experts, has him dropping here to 7. He's going to give his reasoning as to why. This pick is logical for the team and for the prospect. The Giants' top pass rusher last season was Azeez Ojulari, who led the team with 8 sacks, and they have to improve on the edge. This is their best chance to add a young, talented defensive end. They can afford to use this pick on Thibodeaux, who has a high ceiling but was inconsistent in 21. If Thibodeaux puts it all together, you're talking about an all-pro level talent. But if he doesn't build out secondary moves and can't improve his all-around game, he could struggle. He has the type of physical traits NFL teams love, but taking that guy in the top 10 is risky. If New York passes on Thibodeaux, keep an eye on cornerback or linebacker with this pick. And I think a lot of people have the New York Giants pegged to take Sauce Gardner. That's who I had them going with in my first mock draft. Of course, I had Kayvon Thibodeaux off the board. If Thibodeaux's there and the New York Giants have already gotten their right tackle, I think it's a slam dunk, home run, grand slam, whatever you want to call it. I think Giants fans will be having a party all over the world if we have the ability to get Kayvon Thibodeaux, especially after we addressed that right tackle position at 5th overall. In this scenario, if both Sauce and Thibodeaux were there, I'm not going to be upset either way. I think they're both huge holes, assuming that we're going to trade James Bradbury, and I'd be happy with either pick. But if you have an opportunity to get a transcendent edge rusher, which is what Kayvon Thibodeaux is, I think the New York Giants go ahead and try to do it. I just want to do a quick video on this and talk about, I guess, his reasoning as to why and how he could potentially see these players dropping to the New York Giants. I do see it as a possibility, not necessarily a probability, but I think it's more realistic that it could happen if the Jets traded out of that 4th overall selection. I don't think anything he did before that was crazy. I could see Kyle Hamilton going 2nd overall, even though I personally do not have that. I, however, do not see the New York Jets taking a wide receiver at 4th overall. I could see a team trading potentially up for a quarterback in that spot. But if the Jets were to stay there, I don't really see a scenario where the Jets would pass up on, Kayvon Thibodeaux or Evan Neal, especially if Kyle Hamilton was already off the board. I suppose it's possible they could take a guy like Sauce Gardner, because everything I read, the Jets definitely need some help in that secondary. But if this scenario were to play out on draft night and the Giants landed both Thibodeaux and Evan Neal, it's going to be a lot of happy Giants fans in the tri-state area. As always, guys, if you like what you watch, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.